Good morning, everybody. Mark Frederick here at back home, having made my first trip to Italy, and thank you to all those that support me, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here making this video this morning, because I've had a few days to reflect on the trip, and it's been really inspirational. To choose Piedmont, north of Italy, as the first destination, first trip, was certainly a good choice. It gave me a flavour of what Italy is all about, in the sense, what I thought I knew, I realised I don't know. So, which makes the discovery more enjoyable. I didn't expect to drive through paddy fields. I knew Italy grew rice, but I didn't realise to what extent. In fact, the extent is they're the biggest rice growers in the whole of the European continent. As you know, most of you know, like I've spent time in Asia, in many countries, Thailand mainly, but Cambodia, Myanmar. Recently been to Bali and so forth, and these and Sri Lanka, and I've seen paddy fields, and that was what you find in Asia was my picture of what paddy fields look like. But in Italy, of course, it's completely different, and in some ways it looks kind of modern because it's different, but there's nothing modern about it. They've grown rice for for donkey's years, which brings me on to I've even found recipes using donkey meat, including salami, and all these recipes are going to be going in the book, which I'm pleased to say. So if you want to know how to make a donkey salami, Italy without pasta is going to tell you how to do that. And I brought some home with me, which is really cool. But I just really want to once again thank everybody who supports me, because now I'm officially retired. I don't really have the means to do the research in the way it deserves to put a cookbook like this together. And I just quickly want to, because one or two questions have been raised, why do you need to raise money? And this will give you a bit of an idea. So last week was only a week away. It's certainly not enough to do research, and particularly in an area like Piedmont, a week isn't enough. So I need to go back for sure. But there's other places around Italy that I need to visit, and I need to make somewhere between, depending on the length of stay, somewhere between 5 and 8 different trips, maybe even more, with going back to several places to get the style of recipes that are required for Italy without pasta. So yeah, I mean the costs, and well, it cost me. I did it on what I thought was kind of the cheap. It cost me for that week €2,500. And you think, €2,500, and the money was just spent like that. And I'm pretty frugal in this sense. My initial plan, as you know, was to try and get a rice mobile, that's German, but a camper van for the journey, donated if at all possible. If not, to raise money to hire one and so forth. But it ended up, as you know, those who've been following me posts, I ended up hiring a car. All right, and well, for one reason, my family car got written off, very recently, and it has to be replaced. So anyway, I hired a car, and I got a good deal, I thought, and it was a Volkswagen T-Roc. I was the first customer to drive the car, so it was brand spanking new. It was like driving a spaceship, to tell you the truth. for a big comfortable car for driving a long journey like that. Because just to get to Piedmont, you know, it was like 1,100 kilometres. Took me 2 days because I had to break it down. I'm not as young as I used to be. In the past, I've gone like to the south of France to my friends. You know, 1,700 kilometre journey all in one foul swoop, which I've done several times when I was younger. But you know, I can't do it anymore. But anyway, took me 2 days. Second night, no hotel to be had anyway, within like about 50 kilometres of the autobahns and so forth. So after a huge struggle trying to find a hotel, believe it or not, ended up sleeping in the car. It's not what I wanted to do, but you know, that's what I ended up doing. So there was a little saving there. And like I said, I got a good deal on the car. I got it on unlimited kilometres, which was brilliant because I knew I was going to be knocking out the kilometres. And in total for the week, the kilometres were, strangely enough, roughly 2,500 kilometres. So that's getting there, then whizzing around all the different places where I needed to visit. And it turned out, with the cost of the whole journey broken down in kilometres, it cost like, the trip was roughly €1 per kilometre, which doesn't sound a lot, does it? But when you add up 2,500 kilometres, plus if I have to make like 8 trips all of a week, which they can't be, I've learnt my lesson there. They need to be for a lot longer, so you can almost double the amount. But if it was based on a weekly basis like this one, at 2,500 for every week spent researching the book, you're quickly getting like 10, 12, 15,000 euros just to research the recipes. I mean, that's an enormous amount of money. But that's you know, if it was hire car, the fuel for the car, the hotels, and then of course, like, you've got to eat, and you know, when you're eating on the road, it's not the cheapest way to eat. And albeit I did have several picnic style meals, you know, whilst I was there, you know, so buying things from local shops, even supermarkets, just to keep the cost down. You know, we still came to that. So did all the costings, and just to summarise the costings, the tank in the fueling up of the car for the whole journey there and back, and the running around, came to €319.28. So 300. So you can call it €320 just for the petrol. At the hotel, as it were, was 733. So not bad, really. Just remember that, you know, one night I had to sleep in the car, so not bad. At that was about, you know, 5 nights having to pay for accommodation, because I got back home on the sixth evening. So restaurant meals to take on. One was donkey cheeks with polenta. Anyway, a couple of sessions in the restaurants to taste some of these recipes, and it's all part of the discovery. 143.20, so it's not outrageous. At the car hire was €701. At as I said earlier, I think, which was a great deal. And then the tolls were 107 for the whole journey. That's going through Austria, Switzerland. That was the most expensive. You had to pay €57 just, and the toll sticker they give you lasts for 12 months. But whether you're going in Switzerland and you're there for an hour, it's still going to cost you €57. Anyway, so the tolls came to 107. But all in all, like I said, you know, about €2,500. So it's quite a lot of money. And now I've reached retirement, and you know, I really want to share my experience, and I want to look at Italy with through my experienced eyes, because I've taught salumi and charcuterie, French charcuterie and Italian salumi all these years. But I wanted to approach and discover Italy and see what my radar picked up on, and to share it with you guys, because I'm not sure you could actually pick up the same recipes. I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just that I've got my radar is tuned into whatever it's tuned into, and for some people it's interesting. It's not for everybody. I realise that, and in order to share that, that's the cost I have to pay to gather the information, in order to get it down and edited into a book and formatted and everything else. So of course there's all those charges on top to come yet. Just to share with you, I'm doing it for my own interest as well, of course. So that's what that's the cost. So to answer some of those questions, and they're fair questions, and anybody can be open. You can ask me anything, you know, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, somebody made a remark, and it was done, you know, it was done in good taste. They were kind of joking, but you always got to remember, when people joke, there's an element of truth in there. And it was put to me, like, I can't remember the exact words, and it was when I first really started to give this project a push. It was like, especially when I was asking for people to support it on my buymeacoffee.com platform. They were saying, "Oh, that's a good way of getting a cheap holiday," and I thought, no, but, no, it's not. It's not a holiday, and it's not a holiday. I tell you now, it's not a holiday. Especially when you're only doing a visit for a week, and like almost 2 days driving there, and then you got like 3+ days actually on the ground, running around like Billy, or trying to beat timelines of. In a lot of places in continental Italy is no different. Everything closes down for siestas and things. I know that's a Spanish word, but quiet times. So anything between 12 and 4 o'clock, noon and 4 o'clock, depending on where you are, it's all closed down. So you're racing to go and visit a specialist butcher, and as I did in my case in one village, to go and see a donkey meat butcher, and bang, I got there and it was all closed up because of and you can't hang around for 4 hours. So you've got to shoot off and do many different things. You can't be wasting your time. So, I tell you, I put a lot of time and effort into it. And then there's almost like the 2-day drive back. I think what I'm going to plan to do in the future is to look at catching a train to Italy, different parts of Italy, to perhaps a main city, and then from there I will look towards hiring a car, and that will give me more time on the ground, more time to find more recipes, etc., and see if I can do better on the costs there. So anyway, so there's a little bit of an explanation as to what it costs. And like I said, €2,500 on a week, and most of that's just travelling. It's a huge cost, and that's why I ask for support, because I certainly can't pay for it myself. If I was to do it properly, if I was to do the whole thing and pay for it myself, I just cannot afford that 10, 12, 15,000 euros it's going to cost to research the book. That's a lot of money, isn't it? But that's what it takes to be on the ground. If anybody's got any ideas about how to do it, how to do it cheaper, basically, or easier, then please let me know. Or if you can offer an overnight stay free of charge, bed and breakfast or something like that. As long as if you're interested in supporting me, then please let it be known. And for favours like that, of course, I can always give you mentions in the book, perhaps in the form of a small ad or mention or whatever, or on social media posts. so you get something back in return. So, but yeah, that's what I wanted to share. So, so €2,500 to the poorer, but richer in what I've returned with. In that, I must admit, in that money, in that €2,500, there is a roughly, about €100 worth of little purchases that I've brought back that I can use in the photography for when I'm recipe testing. So it's things like packets of sea salt, where it's all in Italian. It's an Italian brand, Italian product. So these can be used in background of photos. Same with some different packets of rice and a sack of rice. Olive oils, some beautifully written, labelled different olive oils, both in clear bottles and black bottles. So all these things. So these are going to help. These are going to be like props, So eventually, when I get round to recipe testing and doing the photography, I do my own photography. I'm not the world's best at it, just purely based on costs. I just can't afford a professional photographer, full stop. So I do my best. All my other books have been my own photography, and I just at the time I just bought the best camera I could afford, and I've kind of gone with that. I haven't done too bad. I'm clearly not a professional, but the photos, nevertheless, are pretty decent, and I do them in the style that I hope is of interest to you guys. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Keep on supporting, if you don't mind, or spread the word. I've switched my Facebook account to pro mode. I don't know if that's going to help me or not. So just to explain that away, and I'll keep you posted and give you snippets of things that I discovered whilst I was there. I was there. Came across some magnificent hazelnut, cobnut groves at one particular farm with over 14,000 hazelnut trees, and the stuff. Some interesting recipes with hazelnuts, believe it or not, and there's a couple of things that are going to come into the book, and I will share some information along the way, social media. Of course, I mentioned the paddy fields. There was all that. We visited the hunting lodge at this magnificent hunting lodge that was owned by the Savoy family. It was like a castle. So there's going to be game recipes. I've never seen such an historical building or castle, whatever it is, dedicated to hunting, as to this particular castle. So yeah, so there's lots to come. So thank you, Piedmont, and especially the being pointed in the direction of donkey salami. More to come on that one. Look, I better just shut up because I'm just waffling and waffling. So buymeacoffee.com / then into capitals TGCA. So that's buymeacoffee.com / TGCA. TGCA in capitals. Thanks. Toodaloo. Arrivederci.